Are you excited for Iron Menace? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Well, she's scared. After going 12 years without a new roller coaster, in 2024, Dorney Park is finally adding a brand new roller coaster, most likely just to confuse all the enthusiasts to see if it's an RMC or not. Spoiler alert, it's not an RMC, it's actually a B&M dive. Iron Menace looks to be actually a really solid B&M dive coaster. I think it'll probably be one of the better ones out there just because it actually has a layout, unlike some others. It'll be taking up the Stinger plot of land, which was their last coaster that they added back in 2012, which has since been removed. And that ride was even relocated, which means that the last new ride that they got, like brand new, ground up, would have been 19 years ago. So yeah, that's pretty sad. So it's great to see that they're finally getting a new ground up coaster because they were definitely due for a new roller coaster. And it looks to be a pretty good ride. So that is also good. It's not like their first ever, like the first new coaster that they've gotten in 20 years is going to be a Wild Mouse because they already have that. But it's great to see that they're actually getting a little bit of love, and that's probably just because Cedar Fair knew they need to add a new coaster, and so now they're adding it so that they don't have to for another 20 years. So that's probably what they're doing right now. They're filling out all the parts that they don't care about. Zambezi Zinger was last year at Worlds of Fun, and now this year it's going to be Dorney Park. Next year, I'd imagine, will be Valley Fair, and they're never going to do Michigan's Adventure because that'll never happen. So anyway, the stats for Iron Menace. The ride is going to be 160 feet tall, which will be the smallest dive coaster Cedar Fair has added out of the three. The other two being Cedar Point and Canada's Wonderland, so yeah. But that's fine, it's not that big of a deal because usually it tends to be the smaller dive coasters that are actually the best ones. So that's actually a good thing. There will be a 152-foot drop, and the ride will reach a max speed of 64 miles per hour. There will be 4 inversions, and it'll be 2,169 feet long with a 95-degree drop, which will tie with Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Six Flags Fiesta Texas for the steepest B&M dive coaster. And it'll feature 2 21-passenger trains and will be built by Bollinger and Mabillard. Overall, they're pretty impressive stats. It's nothing huge, but, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's a dive coaster. It'll be cool, and it's not small, so they're all pretty good stats. I'm impressed. The layout will go as follows. Exit the station and immediately head into a 160-foot tall lift hill. Once exiting the lift hill, don't make a nice slow turn giving excellent views of the park, and instead head straight into the drop. After listening to a random GP tell a friend that the ride is broken and that they're all going to die, drop 152 feet down the beyond vertical drop, the steepest drop in the park, which is interestingly sitting right next to the previous steepest drop in the park. After going through an implement, something that I guess is now required on every dive coaster so that they're all guaranteed to blend together, head into what is the first interesting part of the ride, a zero-G roll, which actually looks pretty good. I mean, it'll be floaty, I'd imagine, which is what a zero-G roll should be, so that's good. And then head into what is really the only unique part of this entire ride, the incline loop, which is basically just a regular loop, but they pushed it over a little bit just to give it a different name and say that they have something different. This still does look like a good loop, and it looks to pull some nice positives throughout the element, so that is good. It will probably be a pretty good element, but I just find it funny that the incline loop even exists. I don't see the point in it, but whatever. Next, head into a corkscrew, which looks really to do nothing other than get you over the brake run so that you can head into the grand finale. Yes, I know the ride just started, but look, it's a B&M dive, so, I mean, it's not like the ride's gonna be long. You thought the ride would be long, didn't you? No, it's a B&M dive. That's not what they do. I mean, at least they've started adding elements to the ride. I mean, look at Oblivion. Not only is the drop not 90 degrees, all it does after the drop is do a little turn and hit the brake run. That's all it is. So at least they are doing something, and it's not just a drop and then turn into the brake run. B&M has improved a lot with the dive coaster model, and it does seem to be like the newer ones are the better ones. Anyway, the finale is a big turn. That's all it is. It's a turn into the brake run. But yeah, it's a very lackluster finale, not gonna lie, but whatever. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a finale. But anyway, it is the end. And what would have most people thinking is the mid-course brake run is actually the final brake run. Yeah. So yeah, while this ride is short, it's actually on the longer end of dive coasters, and it's also pretty good that there is no mid-course that takes all of your speed away. So overall, I can't complain about the layout, and it does look to be one of the better dive coasters. It might even be the new best dive coaster, but there is no camelback. If there's one thing I would have added, I would have made that corkscrew a like switchback camelback, which it probably wouldn't have done much, but hey, it's there. I would have probably rather had that than the corkscrew, but they wanted to have 4 inversions, so whatever. So the question is this a good ride for Dorney Park? I mean, they have 7 coasters, so that's not a lot, that's not a little, but they do have some gaps, definitely. The ones that they already do fill quite a bit of the categories. For instance, the standout coaster, they have Steel Force, which is it's a hyper coaster, so that works as a standout coaster. They also have Possessed as their launch coaster. Hydra is their looping coaster, and they have 2 inverts, actually, Talon and Possessed, which you could also argue Talon is also a looping coaster. Thunderhawk takes the classic and woody coaster category. Possessed goes backwards, and they already have a family coaster in Wild Mouse and a kiddie coaster in Woodstock Express. So overall, it's a pretty solid lineup. They are missing a few things, though. They do not have a spinning coaster, which, I mean, that's not a big deal, but they are missing a spinning coaster. They could use a better stand-up coaster. I mean, Steel Force is it's a hyper coaster, but it's still not an amazing hyper coaster. So you could argue that Iron Menace is going to be the new standout coaster, but you really can't have a B&M dive coaster carry a park. So I mean, it might be the best coaster in the park, but it definitely won't be the standout coaster that draws everybody in and that everybody talks about, like all the GP when they go. No, Steel Force is still going to be the big scary roller coaster, I think. Another launch coaster also would have been cool. They only have 1, which is Possessed, which is still 1 more than Six Flags Over Georgia. Yeah, but they could use another launch coaster. That would be really cool. Maybe a single launch coaster or one that just has forward launches or something like a Intamin multi-launch or something that would fit really well with the park. Also, they could use a modern wooden coaster. There were rumors that they could be getting a Gravity Group shuttle coaster, which really would have fit. The only problem is it would have been in this plot of land, which is also right next to Possessed. So having 2 shuttle coasters right next to each other would have been kind of weird, but they could have used a modern Woody. So any just regular GCI, that would have worked really well at the park. And another family thrill coaster. They have a Wild Mouse, which that's kind of like the cheap way to get it done. Like, just get a Wild Mouse, you have your family thrill coaster, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But no, family thrill coasters, I think, are becoming a lot more popular. So I do think Dorney Park, that's what they really needed, I think. One of those coasters that I just listed off, that would have really worked really well. But Iron Menace does still take a few categories. For instance, it has a gimmick, which I don't think it's a must-have for any park, but it is nice that that is there, because I do think parks should have a gimmick roller coaster, one that, like, it will draw in, like, a bunch of the people, that, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be good, but it looks cool, so that works. And a Beyond vertical drop, because that is, I mean, that's kind of the gimmick, but they're kind of the same thing. But, I mean, a Beyond vertical drop, I do think that should also be somewhere, because, I mean, they look cool and they're kind of fun. And that it also could be considered a new standout coaster, depending on how you look at it. I don't think it is a new standout coaster, but I definitely think some people could see it as a new standout coaster. So in conclusion, Iron Menace does fit the park. It definitely, I mean, the park needed any kind of coaster they would have gotten. They could have gotten another Wild Mouse and everybody would have been happy. They just needed another roller coaster. So that is great to see that Dorney Park is getting another roller coaster, and Iron Menace definitely was not the worst choice they could have done. So Iron Menace does look like a fun ride. I mean, they could have used a modern Woody, a spinning coaster, or a family thrill coaster more, but at least we're getting something. So, I mean, I can't really complain. Dorney Park is getting a new roller coaster, so that's great. So overall, Iron Menace looks like a good ride, and I just wish that another park would have gotten it. For instance, Valley Fair, they could have used it, or Michigan's Adventure. They could literally use anything. Give them a little dragon wagon and everybody would be happy. I think everybody's kind of decided that Michigan's Adventure is never going to get a new roller coaster. So yeah, it's just a joke now. But back to Iron Menace. Iron Menace looks like a good roller coaster. It'll definitely be fun. I mean, dive coasters aren't always the best, but it does look like to be one of the better dive coasters. So in the end, Iron Menace looks like a good ride. I just wish maybe somebody else got it and they got something else that they would have needed more, because I'm really happy that we are getting Iron Menace. It does look like a really good ride. So that is good to see. Dorney Park is finally getting a new roller coaster. What do you think of this ride? I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I was definitely not expecting it. I'll go with that. I did not think Dorney Park would be the one to get the new roller coaster. I would have thought Valley Fair would have been the one to get it this year. But it seems like Dorney's getting it. Hopefully Valley Fair gets a new roller coaster next year. But anyway, what do you think about this whole Iron Menace coaster machine, because that's actually the theme. I think it's supposed to be a machine. What do you think of this new roller coaster? Because I think it looks really good, and I'm definitely happy that they are getting that, because I don't think I will be as lucky this year. But I got Air Force One, so I can't complain. So you comment your thoughts on the bottom, down there below me. I mean, wait, just scroll, you'll see the comments. Just go and comment what you think. That'll help me out a lot. And also like the video if you enjoyed it. I know this one's a little weird, but yeah, I'm tired. Okay, and have a thrilling rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and subscribe, otherwise the puppy's gonna bite you.